Hello, I'm Ashley, the engineer at Andover Norton. Now, in the past couple of months, we've just noticed that the bikes coming through the workshop tend to have oil issues. Now, two of the bikes only had about half a pint of oil in, the others tend to be overfilled. Now, we don't know why this is or how it's happening. There could be many reasons why people are either overfilling or not checking the oil level in the bike. Some of the bikes, mind you, that we do get in are actually bikes that are kept in people's offices and showrooms and actual front living rooms, etc. as well. So it could be one of many reasons. Now, the ideal thing to do is to keep your oil level between the bottom of the dipstick and the low level on the dipstick. This leaves enough room for the rest of the space in the air tank to be able to breathe when you've not, because obviously you've got the actual crankcase breather coming back. That breathes, and any vapor there can use that space and then be extracted down through into wherever you want it. Now, if you overfill it, you tend to find you will leak more oil out of your oil tank breather. It will condensate and drip a little bit more. Keep it on the end of the dipstick to the low level, you'll find that you shouldn't get any problems with anything dripping out of your oil tank breather. Now, things to check. If you're scared of leaving it at the bottom of the actual dipstick, this is the strainer that's in your oil tank. As long as you look down into your oil tank and you can see this is covered, on most of the side oil tanks on the later Commandos, if you drain the oil during an oil change and look into the tank, you can actually see this. It's actually quite low down in the tank compared to the amount of oil you put in there. But providing your oil level is over this, you'll be fine. Likewise, when the bike's running, it should be over this strainer constantly. Now, some people, when they do an oil change, they will normally top the tank up, see the levels dropped, and then top the tank up more. That'll explain why people would potentially overfill the oil tank. Now, two places on the actual Norton Commando engine you can lose oil. And the first place is when you run the bike. This on the bike will top up with an oil level. This is an early crankcase showing the timing side. It's just got the one hole there, and surprisingly the other hole runs down there into the back and into the sump of the actual the engine itself, the crankcases. Now, this runs, like you see, about halfway, just over halfway full of oil. On the Mark III Commando, they decided that this breathing arrangement and the amount of oil in here wasn't the best way to do stuff. So what they decided was they would put more holes in the crankcase. So when the crankcase is on the engine, the level would actually run through one hole, avoid the bearing, and it'd be able to breathe via the other holes. Now, some people say, well, why doesn't the oil go through the bearing? It does. There's actually an oil seal there, though people say, oil seal? Why is it not rubber? It's a steel seal, and it actually acts like a metering device. The reason why you have this in here, behind the washer that we all recognise, is the fact that if you let all the oil run through the bearing could skid and not function as a bearing. That doesn't do the bearings any good. So what this does is restrict the amount of oil that's trapped in the timing cavity running through into the bearing. It just limits the amount of oil. Now, you can see the other reason. This is now topped up. People stopped the bike, checked the oil tank and found it's dropped. They've lost a bit of oil in here. They may have lost some to top up the filter as well. What they should do is let the bike run for a good few minutes, and just to make sure that any drop they have got is acceptable and they're still covering the strainer. There has been cases when people have started the bike and all the oil from the oil tank has gone straight to the sump because they've got another problem elsewhere. Now, the best thing to do is to get used to knowing where your oil level is. Think where the oil is and where it could be. When you stop the engine, the oil in the engine, in the timing cover, will eventually work its way through the actual seal here, through the bearing, into the sump. So the first sort of 24 hours, that will be the majority of oil in the sump. There on in, as that volume grows that's made its way to the sump, will be actually what the oil pump is wet sumping into the sump, not the initial amount in the first 24 hours. Now, it makes sense really that when you're actually doing your oil level checks, get used to knowing where they are, check it on a regular basis, and just make sure that you're happy with your oil level. Some people like running with a little bit more in there, some people like running, like I do, on the bottom of the dipstick to the low level. Now, I prefer to run at that level, purely one, because I don't need that amount of oil in the engine, and two, in the UK, it allows that oil to get real hot to where it should be. I'd imagine somewhere else in a hotter part of Europe or in the United States or Australia, you'd most probably want to run with a little bit more oil in there to give yourself a better chance of getting the oil temperature to a sensible level where the chances are that if you're running in some places it could get very hot. Just think about what you're trying to achieve. Now, if you've got any questions or you're not sure of anything, please feel free to get in touch with myself or Simon at Andover Norton, where we'll answer your questions. Thank you very much.